There are no more difficult tracks anymore compared to this one. This is a circuit which stands as a one of one, a relic of times gone by, a circuit that is so lauded over, so historical, so important to the fabric of motorsport that, quite simply put, it stands as a memory for so many. When you race in iRacing, this is what you call the pinnacle of what a lap should be. It's the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and it's your Grand Prix Legend Series, brought to you by the Global Sim Racing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those watching at the home of sim racing. My name's Jake Sperry. Alongside with me for the ride today is Joey Atterbury. Christian Deploy is our director today. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what can be said about a circuit that is over 14 miles in length, has over 150 corners to its name, and a circuit which, quite simply put, stands itself out as one of the all-timers out there? Let's take a look at our GSRC track guide to get an understanding.
Welcome to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Most modern high-end series might use the GP circuit nowadays, but it will certainly never hold the respect and awe that the Northern Loop commands. Though it can be and is usually used in conjunction with the Grand Prix circuit for competitions in real life, here on iRacing, drivers can harken back to a time gone by and just run the 13-mile behemoth this place is known for. Nicknamed the Green Hell by three-time F1 world champion Sir Jackie Stewart, it is often regarded as the greatest test of a driver anywhere on the planet. Just looking at the stats will tell you why. More than 150 turns and close to 1,000 feet in elevation will pass you by in a single lap. Simply memorizing the course is half the battle for most drivers, let alone being fast. It goes without saying that this place is dangerous. Many fast corners lack runoff, there's blind apexes everywhere, and in a couple cases, even modern cars will get airborne. The list of famous turns is pretty lengthy, but some of the more notorious are places such as fluke plots, miss hit miss, bravery corner, and of course, the ever-iconic carousel. It's not just the places where you've got to move the wheel that get attention too. The Dottinger Hoa stretches for more than 1.5 miles in length. While you would think this circuit would mainly be limited to the track days most gearheads flock to for a chance to lap the ring, it still sees quite a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, the VLN Series, and the World Touring Car Championship all still take the track to this day. Many race fans consider this the mecca of road racing, and any driver who is able to push the limits here often quickly garners their respect.
Joey, it just about has to be said that around a foggy Nordschleife here today, this is truly a unique circuit where about 50 of these corners can spell the end of your race.
It looks golden on the track map right now, but you are right. The weather at the Nordschleife is foggy right now in this warm-up practice. 155 turns, 154 turns, apparently I can't count. 12.94 miles, and trust me, it is all going to be about the driver racing the racetrack today. You cannot overstep the limit at this one.
No, you absolutely can't, and you'll see it through the likes of the Dottinger Herve on the final laps of the race. You got great chances to pass over at Arenberg, over the top of the hill, over at Ardenauer first. You can get that massive run over to the Steelstrecker out there, and then, of course, that run through the final section and over to T13 at the end of the lap. That's going to be really crucial to keep in mind. Championship worth having a very quick look at as well, just before we head ourselves over to the grid. Sebastian Tixier on top here, Joey, but it's Nieva. But you've got to look down to P8. Togo Hesada, the reigning champion, in a bit of trouble at the moment.
Yeah, not only that, he finds himself way buried down there. We also have those Formula 2 standings. Jonathan Jordan is up on top there. Mats Linden, David Muse, Jan Steffen, Sandeep Banerjee are all inside the top 5.
They absolutely are. We are on a whistle-stop tour here today, so we'll take ourselves through the grid. They already pre-qualified here for the Nordschleife, but we'll deal with the Cup of Nations first because Singapore are on top, ahead of Spain and the Netherlands. And you look down Italy, the United Kingdom, Japan, all the way down to Lithuania, who find themselves in 10th position as things currently stand. Grid, though, is going to stack up as follows. It'll be Aldrius Valentines on the pole with Hervé Trengarade for company. It's then Togo Hesada and Sebastian Tixier. Arturus Condelis and Leo Sequeiro on row 3 with Oye Zamayoa and Jorge Nieva making a Spanish 4th row. Gary Ho and Kevin Verbruggen are 9th and 10th.
We've got Noel Lundberg here in 11th with Norbert Rebelski in 12th. Steve Morris in 13th with Nicola Gaki in 14th. Watch that number 5. Ricardo Ruiz in 15th with Xavier Sanchez 16th. Tolman, Fechner, Ackerman, Tashima in your top 20.
Yep, we're going to be going quite quickly here. There's 27 here today as the green flag drops, and we are underway here from the Nordschleife Industry Park. And into the beach mix car. They will go for the first time. Valentines getting the empty ones already. Hesada into the grass. Having to deal with our Arturus Condelis there. In a 4th and 5th. Backwards, they now drop down the hill for the very first time then in this race. Only 5 laps, and they'll be able to challenge over the course of the day. They go and try and sort themselves out. It's a nice start then for the majority of this field as they look to try and work their way through. Gary Ho, they follow the driver, ran into trouble early, so too Leo Sequeiro.
There was 3 of them that were piled up in Colin turn number 1 right there. As we mentioned, it looks like Colin, the front bit of a gap there between 5th and 6th as we jump up to this section already 170 plus miles an hour.
And again, this circuit here, they now look to crest the rise and get a little bit light over the top of the hill as they head through Schweitenkreuz and then over across into Arenberg corner where you need to just dance on the pedals and then attack the next section of the circuit. It's a track so big, Joey, that you've got 3 villages on the outside of this circuit and one slap bang in the middle.
Giant racetrack around here. It's kind of the mecca of all racetracks. We've talked about it so many times. If you want to go prove yourself, not only as a driver, but the manufacturers also do a ton of testing with chassis and whatnot. You want to prove yourself, whether it's equipment or a driver, you come to the Nordschleife.
And having to lift is the championship leader, Sebastian Tixier, as he very nearly got tangled with the Norwegian Hervé Trengarade, possibly the classic all-rounder of all classics all-rounders here on iRacing. Now heading down the hill, they now look as they hit that middle sector and try and get Kallenhard correct and over towards Versafen and the next section of circuit. So now you dance through the chicane to hit, or miss, in the words of Jimmy Broadbent. Hey, how you doing? How was your work? But now you got to head yourself down towards these next corners. This is where you pretty much say half distance. You go down this section of road and then you head up towards the left, right. Through the right-hand corner is Exmuller corner, and that effectively marks halfway on the lap.
Something you'll notice that is not inside the top 5 anymore. Hervé Trengarade spun all by himself in that downhill section that you were just talking about, Jake. He is back going on the racetrack, but call it the Nürburgring specialist finds himself all the way at the tail end of the field.
Yeah, and we've got some dramas there on the start. It's 3 drivers caught up. Leo Sequeiro, Gary Ho and Steve Morris there in the 17 car getting all caught up and out of shape. So you can always see dramas around this circuit. It happens so quickly you can blink and it's the wrong way. Through the louder links then and looking to charge. Here's Noel Lundberg starting to deal with himself right now. Club Benelux, he's got Norbert Rebelski to deal with and Nicola Cocky as well for company. And look how quick they're trying to push. They're grabbing the grass here through the corners. They run up towards close to Tal corner, and that is where they're going to be looking at it. Bravery bend if ever you had one. And everyone is looking to be in line. They know with 5 laps, they can't afford to sit forever and wait.
A lot of the drivers, if you're familiar with this racetrack and Bravery Bend right there, you might think in a GTP car or something with a little bit more downforce or a GT3, but these cars, Jake, I was noticing 175 miles an hour going in rolling speed, 120. That shows you how much these drivers are having to lift and actually drive through that corner, but also the immense top speeds that are going in there. The commitment levels at this racetrack with these 40Ns are wild.
Well, I've just seen Jason Clapper just, and I mean just, avoid the barriers back in the late part of the field where it is getting a little bit busy out there on track. Everywhere you look, it's forming into these battle packs at the moment, and this is the sort of circuit and the sort of conditions I think is quite crucial to put in mind as well here, Joey, that having a buddy will help you more than hinder.
And right now, the buddy that these drivers are looking for is actually our leader, which we don't see in the frame between the fog and how far out in front Andreas Valenteus is. He has just skipped out 2+ seconds over Seb Tixier, who's got a shiny new paint edition out there. Togo Asada giving chase, and Kundelis right there, kind of the caboose in that 3-car train.
Absolutely, Aldris, of course, the champion from 2 seasons ago. Absolutely dominant when he was up there at the front. Look at the air they grab as they now run through this next section. The Stefan Bellof S will be next for them to challenge out then on this run, and you've just got to be so committed through here. It's high speed. Every which way you look, you're trying to dance between curb to curb, looking to try and find the angle that's going to lead to the Schwabenschwanz, which will be up next. And if you can find that opportunity here to just get a little bit of calm, it's a dance that you do with this circuit. It's very easy to find yourself in trouble if you look the wrong way. Togo Hesada finding himself now in 3rd position, through ahead of Arturas Kundelis, and they've dealt with the likes then of Nieva and Zamayoa out there over the course of this one. Hervé Trengere has dropped way back in the pack. He's gone right to the back, so whatever's happened here to Hervé Trengere, he has completely vanished from the front of the group, and he vanished about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, and, I had mentioned Trengere definitely got caught up by himself. He just kind of hit an apex curb and spun it all around. I wonder if that's the replay we're going to get. Yeah, sure enough, there it is. There's Trengere in the number 8 car. He was in 2nd place as we started to go down the hill on the first lap, but look at 2nd. We got Tixier, Hesada, and also Kundelis on that front straightaway. It was kind of amusing. I had to chuckle to myself, Jake. As soon as you said mistake, Togo Hesada, he had jumped over the curb. It really cost him on the exit. I thought it was going to benefit him down the front straightaway, but it really just kind of accordioned up those front 3.
Oh, it really did, and those in 2nd through to 4th position are always keeping their eyes focused on what everybody else is doing as they put 1 of the 5 laps then on the board, focusing on Norbert Rebelski and this group right now with Nicola Koki gaining 5 places on the opening lap from 14th to 9th. Connor Tolman again a 6 on the opener out there, so definitely making some progress then in the early stages, but we do have drivers in trouble. I think Trengere's now officially out of the race. So too is Leo Sequeiro. Gary Ho jumps into the pit. So too does Luke Santos as Kundelis continues his chase right now through the fog and looking up towards Flugplatz as that next section of road they'll have to deal with. And this is all about finding places you can attack. You can't leave too much space around this circuit, but at the same time as you've got to attack it, Joey, this is a circuit, if there was any circuit you had to respect, it would be this one.
If you overstep any corner, any apex, any brake marker here, yeah, you are in some serious trouble. Most of the time, the guardrails are only, call it 10 feet off of the edge of the racetrack, and the amount of speed that you're carrying everywhere. If you dip a tire into the grass or into the gravel, it is not going to stop the car in time before you reach the guardrail. Yeah, you're going to be in for one wild ride. So I think it puts into perspective our leader, who's already 3.2 seconds out in front right now. The performance level that Andreas has really kind of carried this to as Togo Hesada goes 4 wheels jumping over the curb. A little bit reminder more of an off-road pro truck than a little formula car.
No, very much throwing the car around here is Togo Hesada, and you've got to remember that in Japanese time at the moment, it is the early hours of the morning. He stays up to race these races, and that's what makes him such a character out there, what makes it very difficult for him to commit to seasons out there when you get the normal European time slot as the one where all the racing takes place. Tixier is holding steady in that second position with Aldrius 3 seconds down the road, leading this one outright. But this is an important race for these two at the moment, as sliding through goes Tixier, because Tixier the French Singaporean driver right now, who sits there in second position, looks at what he wants. He's not finished outside the top 2 this season. Togo Hesada, who you thought would be his main challenger this season, way down the championship order in 8th. His nearest challenger, Jorge Nieva, is with Oye Zamayoa down there 5th and 6th, trying to stay with this group. So there is an emphasis for Seb to go out there and really push on these laps because he wants to break away from Nieva so he doesn't have to worry about him this race today.
I think that tip of the cap to those cars in 5th and 6th with Oye and Jorge back there as well, because yeah, we've been fixated on this front 3, call it 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, because they are so gosh dang close to each other. But trust me, Zamayoa and Nieva are pretty much hot on the heels right here. So if this trio starts to do any sort of side-by-side, all of a sudden it will become a 5-pack of cars rather quickly. And then there's a big drop-off back to Kevin Verbruggen back there in 7th place. But if I was a betting man, I would say that these 3 need to stay single file, otherwise it will become 5.
It very much could do, and it could do so very, very quickly if they're not careful, as they now head on this run over towards then the right-hand corner as they now look to hit. They know that the famous carousel follows on next, and this is a corner that you just cannot create anymore in modern motorsport. Look how egregious that banking is on the inside. You could lose up to 2 seconds by just missing the corner.
Yeah, it's tough. Every single corner here, I think you could probably point at and be like, all right, 2 seconds here, 3 seconds there. If you get spit out of the carousel over there, I think you could probably lose even more. But I think more importantly than time lost, Jake, is if you can actually keep it away from that guardrail.
Up the hill at Hohe Ark then goes Noel Lundberg, who is hoping to find the pass on Kevin Verbruggen for position. This one would be for 7th, with Nicola Koki just happy to sit and wait. They've left Rebelski and Tolman and Sanchez and Fechner and Ackermann in the distance, along with Ricardo Ruiz trying to hold on. But through this section of road, it all just merges into one. One of the things that drivers will struggle with around this circuit is just remembering where they are on this track. It's a case of memory being the most important thing around getting a lap like this correct.
It's funny you mentioned, I know the first half way better than the second half because I crashed on the first half.
Oh.
This was an incident on the front straightaway between Timothy Vandenberg and also Ove Trengrade. You're right, Jake. So as Ove was trying to make his way back through the field, there was just some stepping over each other going down the front straightaway, and unfortunately Trengrade is now out.
Well, that just goes to show how difficult it is to drive here, because this is a series that runs this track a lot more than other series, but the only other series that you get out there that races the Nordschleife with any form of consistency would be something around the VLN. So as there's a big push to the inside by the likes of Noel Lundberg, and he gets it done on Verbruggen, who's trying to go up and under not once but twice, heading to the miniature carousel. You get a sense that around this track, you absolutely are on a tightrope everywhere you go. The moment you've got to start committing, the rest of everything else just falls out of range. That is a mega pass by Lundberg.
That was one heck of a pass up there, and I just got to say, terrifically executed, especially not to go off of the racetrack. So this is up front again. The draft battles. Gundel is going driver's left and is going to box in Togo Asada. And now it's just side by side between. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Tixier. I'm sorry, that's Kundelis and Tixier there.
Oh, no, he's going to abandon. Championship leaders in the barriers and out. Wow.
Oh my goodness, and the number 6 car did get involved in it as well, so I also see Arturis now rolling on the racetrack, but we've got Seb Tixier stuck nose high in a wheelie position. It's not an NHRA dragster, Seb.
Well, you can't go too wide through Tiergarten without one driver backing out, and Tixier refused, went over the curb, couldn't keep it out of the way, contact with Kundelis, and over the top they went. Kundelis caught a little bit now as they go on through, and Joey, you can see the underside of the car for Tixier, and of course where you're plastered on the car now.
Yeah, give a big shout out to Seb, still having a good sense of humor with it all, always adjusting that paint, but a little bit of a shame to see because we were talking so highly about those front three and really the racing that it produces. I'm not surprised to see the incident happen where it did, Jake. It's the fastest part of the racetrack and where they're going to kind of condense up the most.
Oh, it certainly is, especially when you've got that most aggressive run, the Dottinger Herb, possibly the longest straight in all of motorsport currently, without any chicane to break it up, for example, like the Mulsanne. It is such a tough place to go side by side because you need to have commitment as you go through, and it is such an aggressive braking zone that you need to get it slowed up. Verbruggen giving chase, and so too now Bjorn Ackermann here in 13th, looking at Hannah Fechner for position. It's nice to see Hannah out there racing. She's looking at finding herself a bit of consistency, and often you find that this is a race that's run a lot more, not for the reason that everyone loves the Nordschleife, Joey, but for the fact that if you want to game the system and get all your safety rating up, this is the perfect track to make it happen.
So many corners packed into this race, you're right, kind of gives that little boost, but at the same time, you have to know the racetrack and you got to be able to execute it on that level in order to kind of increase your own standards, if you will. It kind of reminds me to that point that I know the first half way better than the second half, and this is that replay of what happened to our front bunch here. You see Kundelis also involved. Jake, you know, I'll have to go back and look on my screen. Was there actually any damage on that green number 6, or did he more spin just in avoidance?
I think that the secondary spin would have been an egregious amount of netcode between the two, because you're talking about going from Lithuania all the way over to Singapore, so there would be a massive over-the-world connection between them. But I think the way to describe it is that Tixier's tyre fell off there, Joey, after the contact, or even the front bonnet there that tries to hold on, as we watch with unicorn power here, Bjorn Ackermann at this point. But effectively, I think Kundelis just hit the bonnet and the front suspension just caved, and that's why he spun into the barriers.
You're right. Now that I went back and looked at it on my screen, I know we're watching the battle between Ackermann chasing down Fechner right now, but Jake is 100% spot on. The wheels, the damage model basically fell off of Tixier's car, impacted our tourists out there, and that's what caused the spin. A little bit odd to see for sure.
Yeah, but it is something that is going to be more and more used with iRacing's new damage model system, which is out there at the moment. Kundelis continues in his race. He's down in 5th position now as we watch the battle for the top 10 hotting up. Heike 360 ES, Xavier Sanchez on Swift. He now finds himself with Tolman versus Rebelski for position as they now head towards Bravery Bend. This is the corner that decides who wins and who loses on this straight.
About punching above his weight is Connor Tolman, the car right in front of Xavier Sanchez here. We were talking about that strength of field before we come in. Connor carries the number 22 plate, so his iRating just shy of 3,000. While we talk about Xavier, 4,900. Rebelski right in front of him, 5,000 iRating. So Connor Tolman gets spit up out of the carousel right there, and unfortunately the position's going to go to Sanchez.
That's why we say 2 seconds. Connor Tolman, finding himself on the wrong side of it, now gives a bridge to Hannah Fechner to defend from Bjorn Ackermann out on track over the top of the hill at Hoheacht, and now focus needed. Nicola Kocky on that last straight, on the last Dottinger Herb attempt, moved up into 6th position, past Verbruggen, past Noel Lundberg, and now he's trying to really dash on forward. When Nicola can put together a season, he's a title contender, Joey. Right now he finds himself there with that 6th position, walks into today 5th in the championship with not the greatest Chicago in the world.
Well, when we talk about Nicola Kocky as a driver, I automatically put him inside the top 3. He has the raw pace and the speed, the ability to be inside and win those races, and had a huge moment right there, but was able to catch the car. So let's see if he's going to give the spot up to Verbruggen. No, Kocky's going to be able to defend it. So I think that just kind of goes into perspective that he just made that mistake, was able to catch the car. And check out that basement, Jake. A full motion rig. Is that an Xbox 360 control? Oh, it's just a forced perspective. I thought that was a giant pillow behind him.
Well, I do love the Xbox controller. That is my sim racing rig of choice there, the Xbox controller. It has to be said. But look at what he's having to deal with. Looking down in VR, being very much immersed in the machine, and you don't often get sim rigs like that. And here is someone who can now feel the forces of the car working along, because he'll get the force feedback and he'll get that responsibility as he goes through. So he looks at that. It is an absolute train behind him, though, and it's all aboard the Nikola Express with Kevin Verbruggen, Noel Lundberg, Norbert Rebelski, Xavier Sanchez, Connor Tolman, Hannah Fechner, and Bjorn Ackermann, all together on the road and trying to work their way through the fog onto the Dottinger Herve and find the next overtaking position, which is there at this stage. So this is going to be important. Sanchez trying to follow, and you get to see this quite a bit at the Nürburgring. The Serpentine, Rebelski trying to follow the drop, but he's just lost out now because Sanchez is going to try and pick it up as they pass the tourist entrance. This is the I would say the fastest public toll road in the world, and guess what? Move made. Xavier Sanchez inside the top 10.
I was curious. He was doing 198 miles an hour by himself. Was he going to crack 200 and then just that very short shoot downhill? Yes, 199 and then 200 miles an hour in a Lotus 49 machine, chasing down Lundberg, Verbruggen, and Cocky right there in front of him. Back to my point before I went off and chased a red ball with Nikola Cocky. I think that he's one of the fastest drivers. However, there are tracks that he gets along with and tracks that he doesn't get along with. It seems like the Nordschleife right here, he's got plenty of performance, but might not know it like the back of his hand. So he's not going to be the cork in the bottle up front. He's got plenty of performance, and now that he's kind of got a clean windshield, let's see if he can actually run away.
Well, that's what he wants to do, break the gap to the cars behind and then not have to worry so much. I do want to point out that the fastest lap of the race has just been set by Togo Hesada, which is a 6:34.230. It is officially 1.1 seconds slower than Valentius' fastest lap of the race, but Algiers has not set a clean lap this race so far, which strikes me as surprising.
I think that there might be one or two areas that you can get away with a 1x incident point as we ride on board with Bjorn Ackermann. Right now, I believe he's still chasing down Hannah Fechner. So I'm not surprised to see an invalidated lap time. I mean, what was it, 154 turns every single lap? There's no way I could get it right.
Oh, and you look at what Bjorn Ackermann's having to deal with out on the track. He is wrestling the car through the foxhole and up the hill now. This is where you get all the sensations of your neck trying to throw itself into the ground every time you go up here and up at Ardenauer first. This is the first real chance on the lap, Joey, that you get to breathe because you know you've reached the top of the plateau. And even he wipes the back of his head to say, you know what, I made it through that section.
It's always a little sketch with the big compression and then plateauing up at the top of the hill like you were talking about. But I also find this area right here as Hannah Fechner bounces over that apex curve. As soon as we start to go downhill, things really go south for me, and especially at the bottom of this hill, Jake, where you got to jump on the brakes. You got to slow this thing down, and it just wants to keep on going downhill because of the gravity.
Yeah, this is very much a case like trying to white water raft your way around this circuit right now as they now look with 2 laps to go, which will feel like a lap and a half for this group inside the top 10. They will really look to try and charge back up the hill again and hope that they've got something that they have got over their competition. Lundberg just keeping stum against Kevin Verbruggen here through Exmüller corner, and now looking to think about Bergwerk and the Lauda links in terms of where to find opportunity. Keep an eye on this as well for 3rd position, because Oye Zamayoa has been caught by Jorge Nieva. And as things stand here, Joey, Nieva, who has never won a title here in the Grand Prix Legend Series, is going to be leading the championship if he finishes in this position coming out of the Nordschleife.
honestly, he could have more points, Jake, because one of the opening rounds at Road America, I think he kind of felt like he wronged Togo Hisada, so he gave up multiple positions in the final corner just to let Togo have that spot back at the end of the race. So you talk about championship points and how close he is to up front. Well, guess what? There is points left on the table for Nieva. I call him the nicest guy in sim racing. Trust me, if you ever run into Jorge Nieva into a session, he will leave you room, he'll leave you racing respect out there, and you will have a blast in the process.
He's been around the scene for a very long time. He completely understands what you need to do at this highest level, and Nicola Cocchi cannot break away as they race up to Hoe Acht once again. And now it's a much more pronounced group of four here that starts to make its way through. Cocchi leading Verbruggen, leading Lundberg, leading Sanchez. Now through this top end section of the circuit, heading towards Wipperman Corner and Eschbach and Brunchen and Flansgarten. This section of road which all melds into one, feels very similar. Up over the top of the hill then, looking to try and find every single section of track that works in favour. And now running through Eschbach, it's going to be a case where these four, this is all about setup. All these corners are just there to test you. The real setup comes when you go through the Golbenkopf over to the Dottinger Herve.
I'm happy that you said that all of this, call it section of racetrack, really blends into one. It is so difficult to pick out which downhill curving apex it's going to be, but this section right here, the commitment over the jump, you got to make sure you go over that part straight, because if you don't land on all four tires, or at least 2x2, you're going to have an upset chassis, you're going to have an upset platform. Same thing with right there. You got to make sure the car settles before you really huck it into the corner. There's just so many challenges that present itself here at the Nordschleife, not just driving a flat racetrack.
Lundberg then trying to give chase. We'll take a look though at the GSRC replay here as going through the carousel, Bjorn Ackermann gets a freebie on Hannah Fechner, and we've seen quite a bit of that here today. How difficult is it, Joey, to commit yourself to one line lap after lap after lap, especially with something like the carousel?
Not only the carousel, but I had also noticed that Ackermann was just applying so much pressure to Fechner, not just the previous lap, but a few laps now as we watch the draft games. Riding on board with Sanchez, he's going to be the first to pull out, but he's in some clean air right now, and you're right, Nieva just overtook for third.
Yeah, so Samioa finds himself then as fourth position, heading towards the final lap. Valentias finally sets a clean lap going. Here goes Sanchez, 2 for the price of 1. Noel Lundberg's going to hold his place as Kevin Verbruggen will lose out. Nicola Cocchi fights everybody off then this time, but it's the longest final lap in motorsport currently going right now, and they will have it all to do on this final foray here, Joey, as they realise that there could be some important points here, 6th position on back.
You're right, we are on that final lap, and I know you had mentioned the carousel just a minute ago and having to hit it lap after lap after lap. I think it really comes down to more of a rhythm thing. Same thing with this section, all over the place. It doesn't matter if we look at our leader or look further back. When we talk about the Nürburgring and the Nordschleife, especially these cars, I feel like the driver, the chassis, it all has to be a cohesive unit. It has to be in rhythm and comfortable.
Yeah, he has to absolutely get himself into the right place at the right time. It is all about that comfort level. And when you sit down and you look at the comfort level that is there from someone like Algis Valentias, he is someone who day in and day out oozes perfection. You do not get to 9,200 iRacing, Joey, by closing your eyes.
No, you don't. It's extremely impressive just as he does a huge power slide to kind of have fun on this final lap here. I tell you what, Cocchi has his hands full between Sanchez, Lundberg, Verbruggen. Grabelski actually is kind of joining the party as well, and Tolman isn't too far back. I've actually been fed a little bit of information behind the scenes here as well, Jake. This is almost identical conditions to the original 1968 German Grand Prix with all of that fog here at the Nürburgring.
Oh yeah, it very much feels like that, doesn't it? We've had two more retirees over the last lap, so Shunsuke Toshima and Jason Clapper have both found the barriers around the circuit, which means we're down to 18 runners here in this field, which includes Luke Santos, who's got a black flag out there at the moment from Club Brazil, so he will have to serve that penalty. So I think he's going to get a penalty at the end of the race applied to him for failure to serve out there at this point. Now rushing through the next section of road, you've got to keep an eye out on the GSRC replay here, because this is, I think we've just seen Bjorn Ackermann at Flugplatz have an almighty moment as he noses it into the barriers, and that might be him done and dusted as he tries to finish on 3 wheels, Joey.
I don't doubt it. Bjorn will probably get it to the finish line, too. He's actually doesn't have too many cars behind him. So let's watch as the number 7 car of Lundberg almost makes contact with Sanchez. That kind of breaks up the pack a little bit, but if you are Xavier Sanchez, that allows you to focus forward, maybe try to attack Kaki up here in this next section.
That's what's called a golden ticket in my world. If you want to try and get a place, you've got to make sure it's 1v1. It makes it easier. Zamayoa here is looking at Jorge Nieva for position. 2 versus 3 in this race. 3 versus 4 on the circuit. Zamayoa, I don't think's close enough here, but if he has himself a good middle to late sectors of the lap, by the time he reaches the Golden Cough, he will have a chance for a podium.
This is honestly perfect for Nieva to try and run away. Yeah, the draft is going to help this white number 2 car in this section as they both pretty much put those outside rear wheels in the dirt coming up through Bravery Bend. Let's see him get on the brakes right here, and then as always, the carousel, that ever-important corner is coming up right after this. Nieva really wrestling with the car as Sanchez and company coming up.
Yeah, they're also looking to chase on here, and Xavier Sanchez realizes that Nicola Cocchi has got no guarantees here in this one as he misses the apex. Zamayoa are unable to capitalize heading to the carousel, but here through the final transfers of this lap, this is where you sit down and realize you've got to be perfect if you're Oye here in 4th position, knowing that Jorge Nieva's got more to think about than he does at the moment when it comes to this championship. So there is certainly a sense that when you sit down and you look at it, you've got to make everything work. And at this stage, at this moment, in these conditions, what more can you say to try and bring this back into perspective here for Oye Zamayoa? He's just got to be head down focused and get the Golden Cough sorted.
I had mentioned that I think it was a perfect move from Nieva, but when I said that, I thought he was going to be able to run away having no pressure, or I should say no car right in front of him, but it is not the case. Zamayoa just all over the back end as this fight has kind of condensed back up. Not only is Sanchez back on Kaki, but Lundberg and Verbruggen have joined the party once again.
They have, and so when you look out at it, you know that this is going to be what you didn't want. All right, now, if you're Xavier Sanchez, you don't want another partner. You don't want Noel Lundberg there. You don't want Kevin Verbruggen there through the Beloff S and heading towards the final sections. Watch out for 3rd and 4th because Nieva's starting to struggle out there on circuit, and already heading up to the Golden Cough is Aldrius Valentines out there at the moment. So with Zamayoa in 4th position, can he find the magic that keeps Jorge Nieva from touching onto the podium here today at the Nordschleife? They know they've got 2 drop rounds in the back pocket if it goes wrong, but now it's about drive and it's about respect between these 2 drivers. A quarter of a minute off of this driver here, number 1, Aldrius Valentines, part of the 9K iRacing Club, which is one exclusive to the elite, some of the best sim racers in the world, and he finds himself there. You take the first 2 letters of his name, AU, the chemical symbol for gold, because this driver is the gold standard when it comes to the Lotus 49. He is simply untouchable, and he will choose for his 2nd race win of the season. The Nordschleife, the green hell, is at his mercy.
Togo Asada will finish in 2nd, and there's a couple jostling of positions here. I wonder if Zamayoa actually lifted off of the gas. There was contact between the 2 of them, and now you see posturing. But look at this between Lundberg, Sanchez, and Kaki. They're all the way off the racetrack. I think Sanchez is going to capitalize, come out in front of all of them.
Oh, he absolutely will. In the final stages, Sanchez is going to try and rob this. Watch out, the drive to the line. Is there going to be some thievery at the end as they went to go through for it? Nicola Cocky was trying to steal one on Lundberg and Sanchez, and he couldn't quite get there. Kevin Verbruggen will end up with 9th position through all of that, and it's one of the longest finishes towards the end because the last of the drivers will need to find their ways over towards the line. Matthew Maudsley, one of them, but I found it very interesting between Nieva and Zamioa out there in the final stages there because they made contact through Tiergarten. Nieva hit the wall. Zamioa was not going to take third position that way and allowed Jorge Nieva to finish off in that third position. I'm not sure whether it was a combination of Nieva having no power or it was a case of Oye Zamioa finding himself in a position where he didn't want to go through. They very nearly, Joey, allowed Arturus Kundelis back in to steal a podium.
You're right, and I think Jake just kind of, let's draw back to what I had mentioned about Nieva earlier, the nicest guy in sim racing. I feel like both himself and Oye were kind of given the position back to each other because they felt that they wronged each other in that initial contact. So I'm not surprised to see them kind of both raise their hand, but it's a racing incident at the end, and it was a great finish to watch.
Absolutely was. Luke Santos is going to try and find his finish in the pits. I'm not sure he'll be able to serve his penalty in time, but the majority of drivers are now over the line. We'll take a look at the replay here. Bang! There's the contact into the guardrail. How Nieva gets that back on circuit, pointing in the right direction, is beyond me. And then they can see, leaves the gap open, heading through the final section, and the 3-car almost pulls over to the side to say, no, you go through. And Oye Zamioa said, no, I can't do that. I made contact with you. That's your third place. I'm not going to let you have that back. We'll get confirmation of results then coming across your screen because Aldrius Valentias, the gold standard of the Lotus 49 series, has absolutely dominated again, his second race win of the season, and he wins by 5.6 over Togo Hasada in second position. Jorge Nieva will be classified in third and will lead the championship heading out of the Nordschleife here today with Oye Zamioa fourth and Arturus Kundelis in fifth position. Xavier Sanchez, what a drive, up 10 to finish off in sixth place with Noel Lundberg finishing seventh along with Nicola Cocky in eighth. Kevin Verbruggen, the wrong side of that group, heading to the line in ninth as Norbert Rebelski saw all that was going on in front in 10th.
And then you got Connor Tolman across the page, finishing in 11th with Hannah Fechner in 12th. Matthew Maudsley, I believe, is going to be our biggest mover, plus 14 positions on the day from starting back in 27th. Edward Jaramillo in 14th. Cam Porter, 15th. Gary Quellen, 16th. Luke Santos, 17th. And here comes the interesting story. Remember, if we were going to see if Bjorn Ackerman was going to make it back to the line, well, Jake, I can report he did make it back to the line, doing 177 miles an hour on three wheels on the front straightaway to finish in 18th. Steve Morris is still on the racetrack, but he should finish 19th, and then unfortunately comes the rest of the cars that probably are not going to finish today's race, including Shinsuke Tashima and a bunch more on the next page.
Yeah, it's Tashima who's currently going to be classified as 19th. The likes, of course, of Sebastian Tixier. Big drive today, was top of the championship coming in, and so too Leo Sequeira, who was third in the championship today, getting trouble at turn 1 out on circuit. And as such, Sabine Schmitzkerf is the one that you've got to get right first and foremost if you want to win on the Nordschleife Industry Fahrt, and that much we know for certain. We are going to get an opportunity to talk to some of the drivers. I am hoping we will get the chance to talk to Jorge Nieva first and foremost here, but I'm not sure how much availability we're going to do that with muted and deafened out there at the moment, Joey, but get a sense of how strong of a race this is and why this is such a challenge that everyone loves season in and season out.
Yeah, I think that the Nürburgring always provides great racing, and not only great racing, but people that want to come out and challenge themselves on this racetrack.
Oh, you absolutely need to challenge, and that is going to be the case. We're going to talk with Togo Hisada, though, who ended up in second position overall. Togo, no Japanese from me here today, but this was such a tough challenge out there to try and get through and over the line. 5 laps around here feels like 50 at some other circuits, but a second for you after Algius run away at the front. Talk us through the early stages of the race when you were pretty much pivoted around with the likes of Hervé and the likes of Seb Tixier and Arturus.
Yeah, just I'm doing long lap practice a lot, so that I have confidence with the racing pace, long run pace. So I'm just hoping to everyone not fight hard and stay with Algius is draft range, but it's always fun last lap, and we have a couple great battles. It's very fun, but the same thing as the Algius running away, so very hard to catch up him later in the race. And I lost the fastest lap of the 300 of second in the last lap, so that I have a pace today. So yeah, very disappointed to not fight with Algius today.
It's been a tough start to the season for you on your title defense. So if you look around at it and see that Road America and Chicago didn't quite go the way that you wanted them to, is the Nürburgring sort of a place for you where you can just put your head down and focus? Because it looks like every time you come to this circuit, you've got such an affinity to it. Of course, couldn't catch Algius out there today, but second position, you were matching him lap for lap when you had the ability with clean air.
Yeah, just I don't know what happened with Sebastian and the Andres, but Contreras, but yeah, just focused. Yeah, and I'm happy with this position. Yep.
Well, happy with the position. Let's talk 1 week's time, because we'll be heading to Sandown, and possibly the fastest Australian racing circuit in the world in terms of average lap speed. So how are you feeling about the high-speed affair of Sandown?
Yeah, Sandown is pretty narrow and very difficult to overtake. So I just practicing I will practice with the qualifying lap and more softer suspension because the curve is very high. Yeah, but it's very looking forward to race Sandown next week.
Well, we hope to see you there, and we hope to see you back on form once more like you were here today. Togo Hesada joining us then with a second position overall here in this one. We will get the chance, though, Joey, to talk to the driver third overall. He's with you now, Jorge Nieva.
Yeah, Jorge Nieva, congratulations on the podium finish. How did it feel out there?
Thank you. It feels not worth it, actually.
I kind of saw you and Zamayoa there at the end. I know that you made contact. Did you really feel that you had come down, or maybe do you feel like Zamayoa could have left you a little bit more room going at Apex? How did you see it?
It was strange because he was very close on the straight, and I think he should have passed me earlier, but he had to leave maybe because I was making some S's on the straight. And then we were side by side on the turn, and I had plenty of pace on the outside, and I didn't leave enough pace on the inside, so I think it was my fault. But he let me go. I tried to let him go, and he didn't want to.
I saw that as well. We were kind of figuring that out, but I think the nicest guy in sim racing strikes again. You gotta be happy with the points going towards the championship. At some point, are you going to try to focus on that championship and maybe become a little bit more elbows out, or are you just enjoying yourself and really having fun with the racing?
I didn't have much time to practice for the race, so this is the most I could get. But I don't think on the championship I'm going to be competitive because I have very busy work these days, and Algius is here, so second place is the best I can afford.
You know, it's better to be busy than bored out there. So great job on the third place, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys.
That was the driver of the number 3 car here, Jake, finishing conveniently in third place.
Yes, he certainly did a very good job today, and that's why he walks out of today the championship leader. We always like having a chat with Cam Porter. He joins us right now here along for the ride. Cam, a gain of 8 here today, so definitely a positive to be had. Surely a gain in the safety rating, a gain in the iRating. Overall, a positive performance for you, finishing 140 off the race winner.
Well, I feel very lucky to have finished the race, considering what happened to me. I was following Gary and Matthew Maudsley through the Schumacher S, and one of those fellows was slowed. I had to hit the brakes to avoid a collision, and then Edouard hit me from behind, and that spun me out. I was so lucky to avoid damage there. Also, earlier on in the race, I had just on lap 1, I had a slight wall scrape that I managed to survive. So super lucky race for me today, especially gaining 8 spots in this crowd, 4,000 strength of field today. Just incredible level of talent in this room, and I just basically survived attrition today.
Talk about that survival factor, especially on lap 1, because you find yourself a little bit further back in the field. It's often very congested through the start. So is there sort of a gentleman's agreement with the field sort of silently that everyone sort of stays out of the way, doesn't try to make any crazy moves, or is it basically a free-for-all around this circuit where you are just pretty much looking both forward and back at the same time?
Well, this series has really high quality, gentlemanly drivers in it, and I trust many of them to, especially the regulars, to just be conscientious, not try to make any crazy moves right at the beginning. Obviously, despite everyone's best intentions, sometimes wrecks happen, as happened on the first lap. I had to slow to avoid a couple of wrecked cars, and everybody's trying to survive, but try to gain positions as well. So yeah, you do have to be careful, especially on the first lap or so. Nürburgring's a little bit different, where the first lap is like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. But yeah, I feel like I had a great race today, and the guys that were close to me were racing conscientiously. Even though Edouard hit me and wrecked me, that was because I had to brake in an odd place, so I don't really blame him for touching me, but he was racing me cleanly up to that point. So yeah, some great gentlemanly driving from drivers in this series. So thanks to all the Lotus 70 or Lotus 49 community.
Well, you've had a good drive here today at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. It's a totally different challenge, though, next week when we head to Sandown. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, I like Sandown. It's kind of as you guys probably already know, I regularly race supercars, so it's sort of a staple for that series ever since it came out. So I kind of like the track. A couple of tricky spots they have to be careful with, but hope and have a great race next week, like I did this week.
Well, we hope to see you there. Cam Porter joining us then, a 14th place finish, all things considered, a gain of 8 over the course of this race. That is going to bring the curtain down here from the Green Hell, a circuit which has never going to be replicated ever again in motorsport. Want to give a massive thanks to everyone who has got it done for us here today, from Joey, from Christian, and from Dougie. You can catch all of the equipment and hardware and software that has been used to get this show over to you on your screen right now, and that includes the music, which is brought to you by June Lalonde. You can catch her stuff on Bandcamp if you haven't had the chance to already. On top of that, we have got so much great sim racing that is coming up over the next couple of days. You do not want to miss any of it, including what you see right there, the IMSA Vintage, which will be coming along later today. You can catch us on all our socials to keep up to date on anything that's going on, including our website and our merch store. The gold standard has found himself with another victory again. Audrius Valentius can be simply put unstoppable from time to time, and he is on another one of those famous runs to starts to victories, and it might just be a case that everyone looks to him once again, looking for his second title in the Grand Prix Legend Series. It is going to be Jorge Nieva who walks out as your victor in the championship so far, but Well, that will change when we head to a land down under. It's one of the fastest circuits in the world. It's the home of horsepower. We will see you at Sandown.
Yeah.